always record everything. Now that's a sentence that probably needs a little explanation before somebody in legal starts twitching. I'm not talking about sensitive information or something an opposing lawyer is going to discover. Obviously, there are things you don't record. But with that said, there is a lot of useful business thinking that disappears every day for no good reason. That is what I want to talk about. I'm Annie Rind, your faithful hostess on 1001 Business Problems Solved with Microsoft Teams, where we try to solve one real business problem in 6 minutes or so and send you on your way with something useful. And today, the problem is this. Most organizations save the finished product, but they lose the thinking that created it. We save the document, spreadsheet, policy, and the presentation. But what about the conversation that led to the decision or the back and forth where people finally figured out what was really going on? How about the rough idea that got better because two people argued with it for a while? A lot of that just floats away. You know how this happens. Somebody walks into your office and says, "Hey, I've been thinking about that customer problem." 10 minutes later, you are not just chatting anymore. You are actually solving something. Somebody names the real issue. Somebody else pushes back. Maybe one of you says, "Wait a minute, maybe we've been looking at this wrong." That is good thinking. Then the phone rings. The next meeting starts. Somebody has to leave. The conversation ends, and everybody walks away feeling like progress was made. And it probably was. But a week later, someone asks, "What did we decide about that?" And suddenly everybody is squinting into the distance, like the answer might be written on the ceiling. That is the part we need to fix. In the past, capturing those conversations was a pain. If one person took notes, they missed half of what was said. If someone promised to write up a summary, it might not happen until 3 days later, and by then the energy was gone. And even when a meeting was recorded, the recording usually sat there like a box in the attic. Technically saved, but not exactly easy to use. That is changing. Now a conversation can become a transcript. A transcript can become searchable. And with Copilot, that captured conversation can become part of how your organization remembers, learns, and makes better decisions. That is a big shift. We are not just saving what we did anymore. We can start saving how we thought. So here is the practical habit I want you to consider. When a real business conversation starts to happen, pause long enough to ask, "Is this worth capturing?" If the answer is yes, start a quick Teams meeting. If you can, start it in the Teams channel where that work already lives. Turn on transcription. Then keep talking. It does not have to be a formal meeting with an agenda and a perfect title. Sometimes the best thinking starts as an accidental conversation. The key is noticing when it becomes useful enough that future you might need it. And yes, the first few times you do this, it may feel a little odd. People may wonder why you suddenly want to record the discussion. So just say what you mean. We're not recording this to trap anybody. We're recording it because this is useful thinking and I don't want us to lose it. That is usually enough. The point is not surveillance. Nobody wants to work in a place where every conversation feels like evidence. The point is memory. It is the difference between, "I think we talked about this," and "let's go back and see what we actually said." That can save a lot of rework. It can also save a lot of those circular conversations where the same issue comes back every few months wearing a slightly different hat. Businesses do this all the time. We put it on a new agenda, invite a few new people, and act like we have never seen it before. But if the thinking was captured, Copilot can help you come back to the issue with a little more honesty and a lot less guessing. Instead of starting from scratch, you can ask what you have already talked through, what options were on the table, what concerns kept popping up, and whether you are actually making progress or just giving the same old conversation a fresh haircut. Now, I also want to say this. Do not only capture group conversations. Capture your own thinking too. Some of your best ideas will not show up in a scheduled meeting. They will show up while you are driving, walking across the parking lot, cleaning up the kitchen, or staring at your screen wondering why your brain has chosen this exact moment to get creative. When that happens, say it somewhere. Dictate it into a note. Drop it into Copilot. Put it in a loop page. Speak it into your phone. Use whatever is easiest in the moment. It does not need to be polished. In fact, it probably will not be. A good rough idea often sounds messy at first, and that is fine. You are not trying to publish it. You are trying to keep it from disappearing. Once that rough thought is captured, you have something to work with later. Copilot can help you shape it, pull out the useful pieces, and notice the thing you keep circling but have not quite named yet. But if the thought never makes it out of your head, there is nothing for Copilot to find. That is the new meaning of gathering your thoughts. You do not always have to gather them before you speak. Sometimes you can speak first, then let Copilot help you gather, sort, and strengthen the idea afterward. This matters because our memories are not as reliable as we want them to be. We all think we will remember our best ideas. We will not. Give it 6 months, 47 small fires at work, a family event you forgot to put on the calendar, and whatever software changed its buttons again this week, and the details are gone for you. You may remember the general direction, and maybe even that somebody made a good point. But the trail that got you there is a lot harder to hang on to. The reasoning, the concerns, and that option you wisely rejected because it sounded good until somebody thought it through. That fades. Captured thinking gives you a way back. We talked about onboarding a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, so here is another twist on that same idea. What if you're onboarding a new manager? A new manager can read the procedures, and yes, that helps. But if they can also ask Copilot to look back through past discussions about a process, a recurring problem, or a major decision, they are not just getting instructions. They're getting context. They're getting some of the reasoning history that usually lives in everybody else's heads. That can save months of confusion. And this brings us back to one of our favorite ideas around here. Everything needs a home. Documents need homes. Processes need homes. Conversations need homes. And now, if captured thinking is going to become useful organizational memory, that thinking needs a home too. So when you can, put the conversation and transcript where the work lives. If the discussion is about a project, hold it in the project team's site or channel. If it is about a process, hold it in the process channel. Do not let every important transcript drift around in somebody's personal meeting history like a lost balloon at the county fair. Future you is going to come looking for it. Be kind to the future you. So when I say, always record everything, what I really mean is this. Capture the useful business thinking that deserves to become part of your organization's memory. Use judgment. Follow policy. Be careful with sensitive topics. But the strategy conversations, the process discussions, the brainstorming, the messy thinking that leads to better decisions? Capture those. Because for decades, we mostly saved the outputs. Now we can save more of the thinking that created them. And that may become one of the quiet little revolutions in how good organizations work. That wraps up another episode of 1001 Business Problems Solved with Microsoft Teams. I hope I have made you at least a little bit of a believer that useful thinking deserves a home. Capture the good stuff, put it where it belongs, and please don't make future you dig through the digital junk drawer. I'll see you next Monday morning. This is Annie signing off.